Welcome to episode 20 of the Creative Train podcast. In this episode, I'm going to take a swing at the character of one of many people's musical and literary heroes, Leonard Cohen. Because if the latest movie about his life is accurate at all, he creates a rather repellent character, in my mind anyways. And I don't want to get on the rambling and ruminating and festering vibe too much. I want to keep things positive for everyone. But I want to keep it short because it opens up a few wounds. All aboard? Over the last few nights, we've been watching that newly released series about Leonard Cohen and his brought-to-life story dramatization called So Long, Marianne. My first impressions are that the photography is beautiful, and the actor portraying Cohen is eerily amazing, with everything from his speaking and singing voice to what actually seems like he's really playing the guitar, or at least he was well coached on how to fake it. Leonard Cohen is known for embodying the tortured artist vibe. It's a common interpretive tool when examining his works. I recall one of my high school English teachers even saying as such when he referred to him as, quote, Dirty Lenny. I'm not taking anything at all away from Cohen's work, not in the slightest, because as an artist myself, a part of me really identifies with the tortured artist or tortured soul notion that gets attached to people like Leonard Cohen, Bob Dylan, Mozart, and Van Gogh, and the list goes on. And no, I'm not putting myself in their creative company. Just that I can really identify with the madness of varying degrees that can come with the earnest pursuit of self-expression and a life in the arts. Is it that the madness is a result of the pursuit? Or is it that madness which is the catalyst which pushes us into such things? I've never thought of it that way before, but it is certainly something to meditate on. I'm not going to be a spoiler here for you if you haven't yet seen the show, but suffice it to say that despite how endearing the character of Cohen became in the first few episodes, I could not help but despise him by the end of the series, and I'll let you know why. So what exactly is a tortured artist? It feels to me like having tapped into a well of beauty and inspiration inside of yourself and feeling deeply compelled to express it to the world, but only to be faced with the ugliness of what is popular at the moment. Or feeling like you've failed humanity at large because you don't have the facilities to truly express yourself artistically. That's what that tortured artist thing feels like sometimes. And it can buoy us on some days and sink us on others. In short, it's trying to reconcile the feeling that we have somehow failed so long as there is ugliness in the world around us, while somehow beauty still exists within us, that we do not deserve happiness because there are those who still suffer. So, despite this level of empathy, I saw so many things in his character, which I too felt at the beginning of my self-exploration, as not only a musician, but a writer, poet, and glass artist as well. This desire to express seems to be one of the most compelling things any human can feel, besides the need to eat and reproduce if you're that sort of person. And it is the need to express oneself, not to draw attention or praise, but to offer the world a sense of beauty, promise, hope, desire, and a willingness to reach out and offer comfort and joy in spite of that ugliness. It's something inside of us that demands to be let out, whether there is an audience or not. Most of these types of folks I know in my career are textbook introverts and only have a public-facing persona when it is absolutely necessary. For me, this looks like having to engage my teacher mode when I go to work. And believe me, teacher mode is 100% a genuine part of my soul. I love every minute of my job, and I would not trade it for any other job in the world. But if I had my choice, I would never really want to leave my house. I'd have groceries and stuff delivered, and I could go between my music and glass studios as I please. Back to the character of Leonard Cohen. I did relate to a lot of what he went through in the depiction of his early career, both in Canada and on the island of Hydra. The burning inspiration, the indulgences of the body with food and drink and sex, and the flurry of activity following the moment when the muse speaks a few words into your heart and soul. But then comes Marianne. He falls hard for her, but keeps his distance as she is already in a relationship. But you can see it in his mannerisms. But as the ever self-doubting artist is, he cannot muster the confidence to say much of anything of substance to her. Skip forward a bunch here, and we'll get to the part where he and Marianne are finally together, and Cohen becomes the de facto stepfather to Marianne's son. His career takes a few turns, and ups and downs, while their family unit is growing stronger and stronger. But when things start to take off for him, and he's practically forced to come back to Canada for promotion and performances, he's drawn back to the lifestyle of all those aforementioned indulgences, as if it was scripted, and he falls right back into it all. And this is where my problem with his character starts. His selfishness turns into bitterness towards his newly formed family and the lifestyle which he had worked so hard to create and stabilize for them was now being wielded as some sort of platform of martyrdom, and he seemed to resent Marianne and her son. Working in the music industry, these indulgences are pretty common. The offers of those things are omnipresent when the band is on the road, and you have really zero accountability when you are among your peers who are also facing those same options for extracurriculars. And this is where those things appealing to our most base human desires can take over and ruin things for those around us. I've been there many times, and never once did I capitulate or give in to them. I knew I could never live with myself if I did. I could never take myself seriously or be able to look my then wife or my kids in the eye with any sense of honor in myself. But the character of Cohen just slipped right into that lifestyle and didn't seem to suffer any remorse with the spotlight now firmly set upon him. So what I suppose I see in him is a weakness, a lack of honor and accountability, a willingness to sacrifice the harmony, the bond, and the quiet joy of family life on an island paradise in favor of the spotlight, while rubbing elbows with celebrities and all those extracurricular activities. Part of me gets it. His art had become the focus of his life, and he was barely recognized for it, no matter the level of passion and dedication he poured into it. I get it. I'm there most days myself. But if someone called me and said, "Hey, come over here for a year and we'll make you rich from performing your music," I think I'd honestly have to pass. I don't know if Cohen ever felt that impending attraction to lower himself back into a life of drugs and casual encounters, and it was never addressed in the movie. But I wonder if he sensed it. Was he drawn to it? Or was he fearful of what might become of him and his relationships if he gave in? I've learned that being a successful artist means focused and clear expression, satisfaction with my products, whether it's music, glass, or written words. And yeah, it's pretty cool to be able to earn some money from it. It's a pretty awesome thing. But it's a very distant possibility for most people nowadays to make a surviving lifestyle in it. But back in Cohen's glory days, it was pretty much the only way to release and promote your materials. But at what cost? The sacrifice of the love of a woman and a child versus the fleeting associations in social circles. The distancing of oneself from the bonds of family and community for the temporary joining with people who just want you to do your thing for them. Sing for me. Sing for them. Whatever the legacy of Cohen's works, I know he's a favorite of many of my closest friends and peers, and I'm not going to criticize them for that, although I was honestly never really much of a fan of his from the get-go. And yes, I also know that narcissists, self-delusional characters, and those who are just basic dicks are a large part of the history of the definition of artists throughout the world and throughout history. But I guess I kind of expected more from his character. Maybe because we're both Canadian and we're supposed to be kind. I don't know. But what I do know is there is a human factor which really rubbed me the wrong way. And I know it's fairly common that any relationship with an artist will probably end poorly as they are famously self-absorbed. But do they have to be? I've heard it before from other people. Don't get involved with an artist. They're just some mysterious, sexy weirdo who does things that other people wish they could do. I don't know. But what is the benefit of alienating your family in favor of joining a party crowd built on loose associations of celebrities, common habits, or seeking a spotlight which will eventually turn away from you? Here's the kicker. Here's the stinger. Here's the truth. It is to feed the beast. The beast which cannot ever know satiation. The beast demanding recognition. The beast which demands turmoil as fuel for creativity. The beast that needs the torture, the alcohol, the drugs, and the illicit behavior to think they are thriving. Without all these things, wherever would we find our inspiration? That's a very pointed question. Do we just allow ourselves to lay waste to those people and places around us in favor of our art? I suppose it's a question of priority. Now, I can't really conclude with saying, there's your pep talk, now go get to work. But maybe I can say, there's something to think about. Now go get back to work. Yep, that's it. That's the big question. Is it madness that pushes us towards art? Or is it art that pushes us into madness? And what does that mean for the people that have to live with us? Do you desire seclusion or do you need social interaction? Every person is different. Everyone has different needs, just like everyone wants to consume different art. Who do you create for? Who do you consume?